The rain hammered against the windshield of Marcus Hartwell's black Mercedes as he sat in the underground parking garage of the Ritz-Carlton, checking his watch for the third time in 5 minutes. 8:47 p.m. His blind date was officially 17 minutes late, and he'd already received the text he'd been half expecting all evening. "So sorry, something came up. Can we reschedule?" He stared at the message, feeling nothing. Not disappointment, not relief, just the familiar emptiness that had become his constant companion over the past 3 years of building his tech empire. His assistant had set up the date, insisting he needed to get back out there. Now he'd wasted a perfectly good Friday evening on another failed attempt at normalcy. Marcus was about to start the engine when he heard it, a sound that made him freeze with his hand on the key. Someone was crying. Not the polite, muffled kind of tears people try to hide in public, but deep, wrenching sobs that spoke of genuine despair. He shouldn't get involved. He had a conference call with Tokyo in an hour. He had quarterly reports to review. He had 1,000 reasons to drive away and pretend he hadn't heard anything. But he didn't. Stepping out of his car, Marcus followed the sound to a woman, sitting on the concrete floor near the parking garage elevator, her back against the wall. She was maybe 30, wearing a waitress uniform from one of the hotel restaurants, and her face was buried in her hands. A broken phone lay in pieces beside her, and a small pink backpack, the kind a child would carry, sat next to her, like a silent witness to whatever catastrophe had unfolded. "Excuse me," Marcus said gently, immediately feeling foolish. What was he supposed to say? "Are you okay?" Was obviously a stupid question when someone was clearly not okay. The woman's head snapped up, and she quickly tried to wipe her face, leaving mascara streaks across her cheeks. "I'm fine," she said automatically, though her voice cracked on the second word. "I'm sorry, I'll move. I know I'm not supposed to be sitting here." "You don't have to move," Marcus said, surprising himself. "But you're clearly not fine. Is there anything I can help with?" She laughed, but it was a broken, bitter sound. "Unless you can turn back time about 4 hours." "I don't think so." She looked at him properly then, and her eyes widened slightly as she took in his custom suit and expensive watch. "You're Marcus Hartwell, the tech guy. I've seen you on TV." "Guilty," he said with a slight smile. "And you are?" "Nobody important," she said, looking away. "Just another struggling single mom who can't seem to get anything right." Marcus found himself sitting down on the concrete floor beside her, ignoring the voice in his head that sounded suspiciously like his assistant telling him his suit cost more than most people's monthly rent. "Try me," he said. "I've got nowhere else to be." The woman, Sarah, she finally told him, hesitated for a long moment before the words came tumbling out. Her daughter, Emma, was 7 years old and had been diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia. 6 months ago, Sarah had been working double shifts at the hotel restaurant to help cover the medical bills that insurance wouldn't touch. Tonight, she'd arranged for her neighbor to watch Emma while she worked the evening shift, with the promise she'd be home by 9, but her manager had forced her to stay late to cover for another server who hadn't shown up. When Sarah had protested, explaining about her sick daughter, she'd been fired on the spot. Then racing to the parking garage to get home to Emma, she'd dropped her phone and watched it shatter. No phone meant no way to call her neighbor, no way to tell Emma she'd be late, no way to look for a new job tomorrow. "And the worst part," Sarah said, her voice barely above a whisper, "is that Emma has her first chemo session on Monday and she's terrified. She asked me to stay home with her this weekend, to watch movies and pretend everything is normal. And I can't even do that now because I need to spend every second finding a new job before we lose our apartment." Marcus sat in silence for a moment, processing everything she'd said. He thought about his own childhood, about the mother who'd worked 3 jobs to keep him, fed and in school after his father had left. He thought about the loneliness of his current life, surrounded by luxury but empty of meaning. He thought about all the money sitting in his bank accounts, doing nothing but accumulating more money. What if you didn't have to choose? He heard himself say. Sarah looked at him with confusion. "What do you mean? What if you could spend the weekend with Emma and not worry about the job, or the apartment, or the bills?" "That's not how real life works," Sarah said sadly. "That's not how life works for people like me, anyway." Marcus pulled out his phone and made a call. Jennifer? It's Marcus. I need you to do something. For me. He looked at Sarah. What's your full name and address? Sarah told him, her eyes wide with confusion and something that might have been hope. Jennifer, I need you to arrange the following. First, have a new phone delivered to this address within the hour, top of the line. Second, contact Memorial Hospital and find out who we need to talk to about covering all medical expenses for a patient named Emma. He looked at Sarah questioningly. Bennett, she whispered. Emma Bennett. All expenses, past and future, until she's cancer-free. Third, set up a trust fund for the family. Let's start with $500,000. That should cover living expenses and give them some breathing room. And Jennifer, I need all this done tonight. Sarah was shaking her head, tears streaming down her face again, but different tears this time. No, I can't accept that. That's insane. You don't even know me. You're right, I don't, Marcus said. But I know what it's like to watch your mother sacrifice everything because she has no other choice. I know what it's like to feel powerless. And I know that I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. And it's never made me feel a fraction as human as I feel right now, sitting on this garage floor talking to you. Why? Sarah asked simply. Why would you do this for a stranger? Marcus thought about his canceled blind date, about the text message that had seemed like such an annoyance 45 minutes ago. Maybe because you're not a stranger. Maybe because every person who's struggling is someone's daughter, someone's mother, someone who matters. Or maybe, he said with a genuine smile, the first one he'd felt in months, I just happened to be in the right place at the right time, and I finally have a chance to do something that actually means something. He stood up and offered her his hand. Come on, let me drive you home. You have a daughter waiting for you, and a weekend of movies to watch. Sarah took his hand, still crying, still shaking her head in disbelief. I don't understand this. I don't understand you. You don't have to understand it, Marcus said as they walked toward his car. Just accept it. Let someone help you. Let yourself catch a break for once. As they drove through the rain-slicked streets toward Sarah's apartment, she told him about Emma, about her love of dinosaurs and her dream of becoming a paleontologist, about her bravery in the face of her diagnosis, about the way she still smiled even on her worst days. Marcus found himself actually listening, actually caring, in a way he hadn't allowed himself to care about anything in years. When they pulled up outside, a modest apartment building in a neighborhood that had seen better days, Sarah turned to him with tears still glistening in her eyes. I'll never be able to repay you. I don't want you to repay me, Marcus said. But if you want to do something for me, do this. When Emma beats this thing, and she will beat it, when you're both healthy and happy and stable, find someone else who needs help and pay it forward. That's all I ask. Sarah nodded, unable to speak, and got out of the car. She paused at the door, looking back. You know what Emma asked me yesterday? She asked if angels were real. I told her I wasn't sure. But now I know what to tell her. Marcus watched her disappear into the building, and for the first time in 3 years, he felt something other than emptiness. He felt purpose. He felt connection. He felt human. His phone buzzed with a message from his assistant confirming that everything had been arranged. He smiled and drove away, already thinking about the foundation he would start, the lives he could touch, the difference he could make. The blind date had been canceled, but he'd found something infinitely more valuable sitting on that garage floor. He'd found a reminder that wealth means nothing if you don't use it to lift others up, and that sometimes the most important meetings in life are the ones you never planned.